Here I am, climbing up, feeling great, getting love. Here I go, risk it all, be worth it now, and that's for sure. Watch me as I rock a team.
Alright, episode 36 of Fight Talk Down Under is brought to you by CMBT. Go to cmbt.com.au for all your protein powder, protein bars, pre-workout, all that good nutrition stuff. So go to cmbt.com.au, use the promo code Justin for 10% off at the checkout. That's cmbt.com.au, promo code Justin. We're also brought to you by Nutcare. Now, for those of you who don't know, 83% of penile injuries actually involve a razor. But guys, it doesn't have to be this way. Bare Nuts hair removal cream is better and much easier than shaving, and less painful and time-consuming than waxing. So go to nutcare.com.au, use the promo code FIGHTNEWS for 10% off at the checkout. That's nutcare.com.au, promo code FIGHTNEWS. Right, now welcome everyone. It's been a bit of a hiatus, you might say. We've had a bit of trouble, some scheduling conflicts. You know, obviously Lockjaw is now the eternal featherweight champion, number one pound for pound fighter in Australia. So he's a little bit famous. He's got he's just doing podcasts. You know, he's busy doing podcasts left, right, and centre. And it's difficult to interrupt his sort of gaming and sort of donut eating and whiskey drinking sort of schedule at the moment, as obviously he's not fighting at Eternal 73 anymore. So, Lockjaw, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Like you said, I'm doing every podcast except my own. It's a bit fucking weird, but we're here, so we're finally back. But no, obviously, not fighting for Eternal, which obviously had to announce that I was out of the fight. So basically broke my second metatarsal in my right foot during a sparring session with fucking Colby Thickness, the dog. I don't know. I think Colby and I should just avoid each other in fight camps now. We should just be separated from each other in fight camps. It's either that or there was some motivation behind it. I think he was trying to get some payback. But all jokes aside, we're just a sparring, like just normal sparring, nothing crazy going on. We're just having, it was like the fourth or fifth round of the day. So it wasn't even like we were, first round in and you're still trying to like ease into it or anything like that. Like it was just, sparring, nothing out of the ordinary. Both threw a kick at the same time and the top of my foot smashed into his kneecap and just shattered my foot. So very shit and sort of obviously not how I wanted my year to start. But I mean, if we sort of look at it now, like obviously I was upset that I'm not going to be fighting on Eternal, not headlining that card the night before the UFC, all that sort of stuff. But it's funny how things work because we fast forward to the present day and Rod Costa got injured and is out of the main event fight himself with a broken hand. So regardless of my injury, I would have found out that I'm not fighting anyway because, Rod's injured. So it's funny how that works. It's funny how like it all panned out. This fight game's just crazy like that. Little shit can happen. But I mean, when I sort of think about it, if you sort of look at it, injuring yourself while sparring, like something like that happening, kicking your knee, and just breaking your foot, like that's understandable. You can kind of go, you can kind of see the leap that was made for that injury to happen. It wasn't like I was fucking rock climbing and fell off a rock and broke my foot or, did something stupid like that. Was acting silly somewhere and injured myself doing something different. Like it's just, it's like an injury that occurred while preparing for a fight, doing something that you do every week. So, you can't really be too upset about it. But in saying that, like you sort of touched on, just been looking for other ways to fill the time now, obviously, because I'm on a sort of forced break from training. Still doing a bit of stuff here at Baymed that I can do, sort of working around my foot. But for the most part, having all that time that you would normally spend at the gym and especially being in camp and stuff like that, it's been a weird adjustment to kind of have to adjust to do other things. But like you said, I've been doing podcasts and doing a lot of gaming, doing a lot of eating. So, I can't really complain. Like there's, it's been different, but it's been cool at the same time, a bit extra time with my daughter and stuff like that. So there's always the positives to take out of it. I can't really complain too much.
Yeah, you've definitely sort of earned that sort of like that break and that extra time with your daughter, right? You got had a busy 2022, got 4 fights in, and obviously 4 wins, 3 finishes, as we know. So you've sort of earned that break. But MMA, it's just a cruel mistress, isn't it? Like, obviously you've had this opportunity that's sort of gone begging now out of something that's just beyond your control, just a training accident. But like you say there, you might have gone through this whole camp, had the best camp of your life, been ready for this huge opportunity, on UFC Fight Pass the night before UFC 284, and it was probably going to have been taken away from you anyway, out of something that was even further from your control. So yeah, it's a cruel sport.
And like even when I was talking to, when I found out, I found out like pretty well straight away. I found out pretty early, like I guess pretty early on, not long after it happened, that Rod was injured, and I knew that they was waiting to see what was happening with it. And then obviously they made the announcement. Then I got a call from Cam being like, all right, he's out. He's made the decision that he's out. He's got an injury to his hand. So then obviously, I was talking to him about it, and I'm like, well, are you going to try and salvage this event, like the main event, and get someone else for a Sam, or, like what's the sort of workaround? But, being that the UFC's on, there's a Red Hot Chili Peppers concert, Eternal's on, there's so much happening in Perth this weekend. Flights are ridiculous. Now, from a promoter's point of view, last minute, the week of during fight week, having to fly another person from interstate to fight someone that's already coming from interstate, that's another $2,000 per person return in flights. So you got to fly the fighter, the corner, so cost wise, it's just being the situation is how it is now with the UFC and everything being on, and flights being at the state that they're in, and accommodation, all that sort of stuff. It wouldn't have, you can see from their point of view how it's impossible to kind of salvage this. But, so that's unfortunate all around. Like, it's unfortunate for the promotion because, they're just sort of, it's from a promoter point of view, it's never good when fights fall through. It's even worse when it's like, it's a bunch of things that happen that are like legitimate reasons. Like, if it'd be more frustrating if it was just some bullshit that caused the fight to fall through. But, breaking a hand, breaking a foot, shit like that, kind of essential in our sport. You kind of need to be able to use those things. So, that's one thing. But from the other point of view, it's frustrating all around. Like, Rod's obviously a game person. He wants to fight. So for him to make the decision not to fight, you can kind of go, oh, okay, holy fuck, man. Like, it's pretty rough then. And then for Simcade, it's a shitty situation, man. He just tried to capitalize on this awesome opportunity with me being injured, stepping up. They made the matchup between him and Rod. And then, that's big stakes there because Rod's putting his position at risk. Sam beats him, and, he's fighting myself for the featherweight title. So it's unfortunate for that kid that he has to miss out. I think I can call him a kid. He's a bit younger than me. But, so, it's unfortunate that he has to miss out. And I'll be interested to see what's going to happen with him moving forward and what they're going to do. For my money, I have a plan of what I would like to see happen, or how I can factor this solution in. So Cam, Ben, if you guys are listening, obviously I can go into more detail about this when we're breaking down the Abdallah and Allen fight. But for my money, hypothetically, let's say Allen beats Abdallah, wants a quick turnaround because he's going to need another win before he can talk about fighting for a belt. Book Sam versus Allen in March straight away. Sam's going to be fit. He's going to be ready. Allen's going to be in shape and ready. If he comes through, all good, and especially if he gets a quick finish. You make that fight. Winner of that fight fights me in May for the belt. There's a solution for that route. If Abdallah wins, I'm fighting Abdallah in May for the belt. It makes no sense to deny that guy with another win. So, but anyway, we'll get into all that. But yeah, that's sort of where it's at.
Definitely.
In my head.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll definitely get to all that, and I guess it's ordinary for Sam, isn't it? Like you say, he sort of stepped into a big opportunity, and he's kind of missed out. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to talk about how just the cost of flights with the Red Hot Chili Peppers concert and things like that is kind of just makes it impossible for them for Eternal to salvage that or put together a matchup for Sam, because really probably all the opponents that would have been appropriate for Sam and that are based in Perth probably already on the card, right? Or so there's probably not that many sort of to pick from, or maybe a lot of the local fighters aren't available. So it's just the struggle of being a promoter. It's it's an interesting game.
It's a shitty situation because had I not been injured, and say I wasn't involved in this fight, say this fight fell through, and it was Sam and Rod were meant to fight, and then I was laughing with Cam about this because I was like, I saw when he called me to like tell me now that that Rod's made the decision that he's out, he can't fight. I saw his name pop up on my phone, and I had this thought where I was like, if I wasn't injured right now, this phone call would be vastly different. I'd be answering the phone being like, yes, I'll take the fight. Let's go. And I even said to him, I was like, if the situation was different, regardless of the fights and all that bullshit aside, like, we'd find a way. Like, we'd just jump in the car. We'd find a way. We'd get there. We'd get there for the fight. But unfortunately, like you said, probably the people are on the card already. And even if you did change another matchup, then someone else would be missing out, if you get what I'm saying. Like, say you took Abdallah, elevated him to the main event against Sam, now Alan misses out, or vice versa. So it's like, it's just a shitty situation. It's why I don't envy any promoter ever and wanting to do that. Like, that fucking seems annoying, seems hard, seems frustrating. Like, I mean, it's hard enough being a fighter and having, being like surrounded by a bunch of cunts who just want to like get a photo for Instagram and then, don't actually want to fight. So I can't imagine what it's like when you're the person investing all the money, the time, the effort into promoting it, putting it together, getting all the flights, accommodation, all that bullshit organized, just to have to someone when it's like for a non-legitimate reason, be like, oh, I'm not fighting, or like something falls through.
Yeah, you have to really love it to be a promoter, don't you? I mean, we have enough trouble just booking a podcast, and there's just two of us, and we fucking talk every day, and we still can't put together a podcast. So imagine trying to put together bloody 25 or however many fighters are on a card to be in one building, and they have to get through a training camp, in one piece, get them to the Greek, get them to that building. Yeah, good luck. It's a tough gig. So fair play to Cam and Wayne and all the promoters out there.
I've never spoken to a promoter ever, not once ever. That's like, it's fucking everything's great. See, Joe has his own show too. Does Wollongong Wars, and like I talked to Joe, and he's like, I hate it. Like, it's so frustrating. You can see how frustrating it is, and then obviously with Cam, and then I've obviously dealt with a bunch of promoters over the years, and none of them have ever had, like, for the most part, you can tell that they love it and that's why they do it. But then they all have that shared thing of like, fuck this, man. Like, these people are just going to do my head in.
And virtually none of them have a full head of hair, and I think there's a reason for that.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Scott Craig is barely hanging on. I mean, Joe's got a beautiful thick head of hair, but that's some Spanish genes, I guess. He's an outlier. He's an outlier.
Yeah, but Can, Wayne, Dana, they're all struggling. So, yeah, there you go. But okay, we better just cover off just for you. Sort of how is the foot? Sort of what's the time frame for a return? Can you give us a bit of a rundown on sort of how you're traveling?
Yeah, so obviously it happened about a month ago now. It's like just about a month ago that the injury actually happened. Obviously, I had to keep it quiet while they were figuring out what to do with the fight, so I didn't really say anything. Obviously, you and we spoke about it, and kind of like a few people in my close circle sort of knew about it, but. Yeah,
that was a tough one for me even. I don't know how you keep it quiet. Sorry to interrupt there, but I don't know how you keep it quiet, because people come to me and they're like, oh, it's a huge fight for Justin, can't wait. I'll be like, oh yeah, sure, it'll be great.
It's gonna be dope.
So, I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, it was difficult. It's difficult, and it was frustrating to have to kind of like be like, yeah, and kind of talk like I was still fighting. But like, yeah, so basically initially it was sort of the discussion was around, am I going to need surgery? Am I not? Does it even make sense to do the surgery? What's the go? Because I broke the second metatarsal, and it, like, the actual bone was broken in a way where it was like sticking up like this. So full break, sticking up like that. So they had to, set it back into place, and then obviously got referred to a bunch of specialists and sports doctors and surgeons. I'm thankful that through Joe and the team, I have access to some, fairly incredible individuals in that area. So, you know, through one of those connections, we were able to get, some like sports surgeons and some, incredible individuals to sort of have a look at my scans and make a decision and give their sort of opinion. We're talking about guys that operate on some of the top athletes in various disciplines. So I was able to get the best possible advice, and the decision was that, okay, we don't need surgery for this sort of break, and with how they actually reset the bone and put it into place, we don't need surgery. So that was interesting because I was convinced, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to get surgery. They're gonna put pins and plates and all sorts of things in my foot. Like, they're gonna have to. How have they not? Like, the break, it's completely broken. But yeah, they said, the way it's set back, it's actually in a great spot. Won't need surgery. So right now, I'm probably another 5-6 weeks off being cleared to train fully. And I mean, that, that means 100% to do everything. A couple more weeks, I'll be able to start doing some light things here and there, but I'm talking in terms of being explosive and actually being able to utilize any footwork, bouncing on my foot, exploding off of it, any sort of stuff like that, kicking with it, anything like that. We're sort of another 6 or so weeks before I'll be able to do anything like that. It could be sooner, but I'm gonna, take the time because I want it to heal properly, and I want it to be fully sorted so that when I'm, when I feel like I'm good to go, I know that I can just go out and get after it. Ease in for a week or so and then get stuck in. So probably mid-March we're looking at, and then that'll set me up to sort of have a week or two to settle in, and then I can jump straight into camp and get ready for the Eternal card, which will be in the start of May. I believe that they're doing another card.
Yeah, right. So that'd be a relatively shortish fight camp then, if you were sort of back in training sort of mid-March, let's say, and then fighting early May. Is that be sort of a quick turnaround, or is that is that where you got your heart set on?
It shouldn't be too much different. I think how it'll sort of time out, it'll just mean that the initial sort of week before I get stuck into those harder sessions of camp, my meat grinders and spiders and stuff like that, that just won't be part of it. So it'll pretty much be, it'll pretty much just be you're getting stuck into those hard sessions when you do start the camp, which, is probably going to be a good thing coming off of being on a sort of bit of a break. Obviously I'm still doing my stuff at Baymed now, doing a bit here and there, but then obviously as the next couple of weeks go by, I'll start being able to do at least some sort of cardio and stuff like that, so I can start building the foundation up a little bit, so that when I do start the camp, I'm not gonna be, number one, re-injuring myself, and number two, I'm gonna have sort of a starting foundation already to be able to push through those sort of sessions and know that I can sort of start building up. So by the time I get to, it comes around and we get to May, for the fight, I know I'll be in shape. The work that we do, the training that we do, I'll be in shape. I'll be ready. I'll be ready for 5 rounds.
Yeah, and I guess we'll sort of find out who the opponent will be. And obviously we've got a huge episode here, so we're going to cover off Eternal 73. We've got plenty to preview there. Obviously UFC 284 on the same weekend. So it's got all the makings of an episode that's going to go over time here, because we're already 18 minutes in, and we haven't even really started with the breakdowns. But before we get to all that sort of stuff, we just discovered this just before we came online, but it's happy birthday to Fight Talk Down Under. It's actually a year to the day since we since we released our first episode. So it's been exactly a year of doing this podcast. So I think 36 episodes in a 12-month span is a pretty solid outcome. When I sort of first pitched this idea to you in probably late 2021, if you had told me we'd bang out 36 episodes in the first 12 months, I would have taken it. I would have shaken your hand every day of the week. So it's been a fun ride so far for the first 12 months. There's people have been sprayed. There's been controversial moments. There's been lots of sort of fun analysis and banter and things like that. So it's been a fun 12 months.
Yeah, no, it's been wild. It's been crazy to see it sort of all come together. And now, obviously, like you said, it's a year on, and we're kicking off 2023. It's our first episode, and we're breaking down 2 insane fight cards that are taking place on one weekend. It's a big weekend for Aussie MMA. but yeah, it's a massive effort for us, I think, too. We've been doing this, and it was initially sort of just talked about, and then we kind of floated the idea, and now it's kind of, yeah, it's just something that we do now and that we're just going to keep doing. And it's fucking insane. I'm, obviously very happy with where we're at.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just fun. There's just, we just get to sort of catch up and talk about fights, which is, kind of what we do all the time anyway. So, it's kind of an extension of that, and it's fun. So let's get stuck into it. Let's talk about some fights, because that's what we do. Fight Talk Down Under. Eternal 73 this weekend. Obviously, again, pretty stacked card. I don't know exactly what the order is going to be, because obviously, as we spoke about, Rod Costa is out, so the fight with Sam Kakembo has fallen off. The main event is now Steve Erceg versus Soshihiro Hirai.
Nailed it.
So that's the main event now. So I don't know how they're going to sort of shuffle the card around, but obviously got one of your teammates there. Matty Gibson is taking on Frank the Tank. So it looks like it's on the prelim card. I don't know if they're going to get shuffled onto the main card, but how's Matty looking?
Yeah, so this is Matty's pro debut, and he's obviously got a pretty game opponent in Frank Jankowski. We know them flyweights, man. I always talk about it. You're more often than not, you're the smallest guy in any sort of room at any given point. So you're kind of forced to utilize, the speed and agility side of things. And then your technique's impeccable, has to be impeccable, because you don't have the size, you don't have the strength. So, Matty is he's very well-rounded. He's got really unorthodox, tricky striking. He does some stuff that that even like you'll be moving around with him, and you're just like, you'll get hit with something and you're like, where did that even come from? Like, what angle is he using to even set that up? He's deceptively, like, this is a weird thing to say for someone who's a flyweight, but he's deceptively fast, which is, you expect flyweights to be fast, but it's like he's got that extra little bit of speed and that extra little gear when he decides to sort of utilize it. And his game, man, he can scramble his ass off. He's good everywhere. Like he's constantly, having to do rounds with people who are not only like a lot bigger, a lot stronger, and probably more experienced, and he just gets after it, man. Doesn't let anything deter him. I often, when I watch him and Amino work in the gym, they're the two people I like watching the most, and especially when they're going at each other, I'm like, holy shit, sign me up. Like, I want to watch how this plays out. Like, it's usually very cool. So, yeah, he's going to be more than ready for this fight. It's his pro debut, so it's interesting to see how the adjustment goes for if the fight does go the full distance, how he goes across the 15 minutes. But in saying that, for his amateur fights, he's doing 5-minute rounds anyway, preparing for those amateur fights. So he's going to be more than ready. And then he's fighting someone who's talented and dangerous, man, well-rounded as well. You got Jankowski, who's no slouch, man. He's a beast. I like watching the guy fight. Comes out of Wolves Den. So he's got a decent crew around him. He's obviously, his brother fights as well. So, there's that benefit. You got someone who's pretty well exactly like you to train and bounce off with. So it's, that's a pretty good weapon to have. Ask Matt Hughes about that. So yeah, I'm interested to see how this fight goes. I'm interested to see how both guys sort of utilize their skill sets. But obviously, I'm going to rock with Matty. He's my teammate, he's my friend. I'm going to be cheering him on, watching closely. Hopefully he goes out there and starches Frank the Tank, and then gets his hand raised. But in saying that, Frank's good, man, and I like watching the guy fight, and he's well-rounded, and he obviously packs some power in his hands. He's got some speed, got some wrestling, got some grappling. He's got all the things that you need to be able to be successful in MMA, especially in that division. But I just think Matty's going to have his sort of coming out party, make a successful pro debut, and get the win.
Yeah, it's a tough out for your first pro fight, isn't it? So it's going to be interesting to see how that one plays out. But after that one, or at least as the order stands at the moment, we've got Khan Diata versus Samad Janahara. This is actually a bit of a sleeper fight. It's actually a incredible matchup on paper, really. Like it could be a real barn burner in the middleweight division. So how do you see these two?
This could be an interesting fight. Obviously middleweights. It's always interesting watching middleweights fight because, they're just big enough that for sure any shot at any moment could just like sleep the other person. But also they still have that speed and technicality about them that you sort of see go away when you start talking about people that are like light heavyweight. Obviously there's exceptions, but for the most part, when you sort of move past middleweight, it's just about who can hit the other person harder and put them away. But yeah, this would be an interesting fight. Samed, I think he's based out of Absolute, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so, he's obviously training with some absolute killers, probably was in camp right now. He's trained alongside, guys like Jack Jenkins, Khan Offley, Roger Shippen, et cetera, so he's got some talented individuals around him. He's got some good coaching around him. So he's going to be, he's going to come out there and look to sort of show out and showcase his skills and, show sort of a different level. And, from what I've seen and what I've seen his teammates say about him and the sort of the lofty expectations they have for him, I'm expecting him to come out and put on a show. And I'm expecting some slick striking and a quick finish inside the distance. That's what I'm looking for, based from what I've been presented. But, both guys are game, both guys pack power. So it's going to be interesting to see who can implement that in the first instance.
Definitely, yeah. Samad's like an experienced, kickboxer, striker. So, you'd imagine he's going to want to keep it on the feet. And Khan's a banger as well. So, yeah, it's a fun matchup on paper. So, yeah, have you got a pick?
I'm going to say some interesting, like the first round's probably going to dictate for me. But if I had to guess, I'd say Samed will probably get a knockout or TKO finish inside 2, I'd say.
Yeah, there you go. It's one of those ones you could sort of toss a coin, isn't it? So, yeah, it's a good one. But the opening fight on the main card, Quillan Salkeld versus Liam Steven. Also, this has all the hallmarks of a banger as well. We know Liam Steven doesn't know how to be in a boring fight, and Quillan Salkeld has been extremely impressive so far in his pro career. So yeah, how do you see this one playing out in the lightweight division?
This is a banger, man. And when you look at it, and Liam's obviously, like we said, he's game, and he'll just come forward, and he just he doesn't know how to be boring. He's either putting people away or he's going out on his shield. Like he doesn't, he's not trying to come in there and be in there for 15 minutes, 25 minutes, however long he's meant to be in there for. The dude's just coming in there to do work. And Quinlan's very talented, obviously, very, very talented young guy. Both guys are like, in a stacked division, and they've been, shown how dangerous they can be in the division. But I feel like the size difference is going to play a factor. Quinlan's obviously quite a bit bigger than Neem. Neem's actually probably one of the smaller lightweights getting around in that division. If you sort of look at it as a whole, like you look at some guys like Tom Nolan, Quinlan, Mumford. These guys aren't small, man. They're big dudes, and he's just getting in there and mixing it in with these guys, regardless. And he's obviously got the skills to shut out any one of these dudes, and he's shown that. Coming off when he was coming off that loss to Nolan, that's not, that's a talented individual. That's a big guy for the division that he lost to. So he's out here mixing it up with the killers of the division. And, Quinlan's, a talented fighter in his own right. But yeah, I think the size advantage is going to play a factor. So I'm interested to see how that sort of takes place as the fight goes, especially if we're in those grappling exchanges and we start getting into like the second, third round. But yeah, it's a hard one for me to pick. I like both guys, and I don't really, it's one of those ones where you kind of don't want to see either guy lose. But if I were to pick it, I think Quinlan's going to be able to just utilize his size and just grind out a decision.
Yeah, I agree. I think Quillan's just he's been super impressive, and that last win against Don Marfan just really kind of just solidified it for me. I think he just really he stepped up to face a really tough opponent, and he looked super impressive. And he's just, like you say, he's a big boy as well. Like that's tough to deal with. So yeah, I feel like Quillan will get it done in this one. Yeah, sweet. So anyway, next after that left me hanging. After that, obviously we've got a fight that you're going to have a close eye on, like we talked about before, in the featherweight division, of course. Your featherweight division that is reigned over by Lockjaw Justin Van Heerden. It's Abdallah Bieda taking on one of your former foes, Alan Philpott. So yeah, how do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, it's an interesting fight. It's especially interesting because that it even came together in the first place. So that's credit to Alan stepping up to take on someone as dangerous as Abdullah. But that's not anything new from him. He's obviously game and keen to fight anyone. In that sense, like when he is fighting and competing. And Abdullah, could have kind of kicked back. Like, it's interesting that he took the matchup as well, but that shows that he's just out here wanting to take fights, cement himself as being the clear person who deserves a shot, which I like, because I'm obviously very big on that.
I was going to say, we talk about it here all the time about making yourself undeniable, and I'm sure that's what Abdullah's looking to do. So, that's something that not everyone's doing, I guess, and that's something that I know that you enjoy, is people who take on those challenges and want to make themselves undeniable. So, yeah, fair play to Abdullah for taking on a tough fight.
Yeah, because he could have just kicked back, wait to see how Rod Knight goes, and then fight the winner. But nah, he's like, fuck it, I'm going to fight Alan and take it, because Alan called him out and he accepted it almost immediately. He was like, all right, let's do it. But yeah, so that's what I like. These guys are both coming into this fight with intentions to put the other guy away, because they want to try and cement a position in the division where they can, start moving on to the next thing that's bigger and better for them. So for Abdullah, obviously, this fight goes out there, wins, beats Allen, cements himself as a number one contender, which is I'm really massive about. He went out there, he took the fights, he put himself ahead of everyone. So it'll be like I sort of touched on before, it'll be a pretty easy decision to do me and Abdullah in May. Obviously, I get Rod wants to fight for the featherweight title, go for the champ status, and he's in a position where he can do that. Same time, I want that fight. I obviously want that fight back. That's how we put it together in the first place. But with the way things have panned out, it would be hard for me to sort of take a fight, reschedule the fight with Rod for May, and then leave someone like Abdullah hanging when he's done the work. When especially when I'm so big on that, go out there, earn your spot, do the work, make yourself undeniable, and you get what's yours. So yeah, if he wins, it's pretty obvious that we throw together the matchup between myself and Abdullah for May. But then if Alan wins, like I touched on before, and I've spoken on this, that'll be a good win and against a super dangerous up and coming guy. But you need another win over someone else. Like you need something. We need to throw something together. And yeah, that'll put me in limbo, and then I will be waiting to see what happens. So maybe then I do end up rescheduling a fight with Rod in the meantime, or I don't know. You figure something out. But like I said, if Alan goes out there, and especially if he gets a quick finish over Abdullah, make a call out for March. Tee up something for March. Get another win, and then you're coming off 2 wins over 2 dangerous people in the division, and we can start talking about doing a rematch. And especially then it makes a rematch between us even bigger. If you're coming off 2 wins, you went away because you lost to myself and Diego, you went away, did the work, improved, you beat 2 dangerous guys, and then you're calling for a title fight. That fight's going to sell itself. Like the last time we fought in the Gold Coast. We're both based in Sydney, and the whole crowd was pretty much filled with our supporters, and it was like insane in there. Outside of Josh Coon's gang of people that were there, it was like pretty much if the crowd was broken up between Josh Coon supporters, Alan Philpott supporters, and my supporters. So it's gonna make sense to do it if the scenario that plays out that way, and it's one of those fights that's just gonna sell out and sell tickets, because that cunt's got a mouth on him, so he's gonna sell it out just talking in the lead up again, which is cool. Like we know that. But like, yeah, so it's an interesting fight, but the actual fight, how I see it going, we all know Abdullah's got dangerous weapons on the feet. He's very long. He's got good knees, good elbows, good kicks, good punches. And so far he's been able to mostly been able to shut down any sort of wrestling, grappling exchanges and, keep the fight standing. But with someone like Alan, Alan's more experienced. He's more well-rounded. Obviously, he's a dangerous striker in his own right. The dude's got really slick counter-striking. So the striking exchanges in this fight is going to be interesting, because Alan likes to fight on the back foot for you to go first, and then he's going to piece you up with 3-4 punch combinations in a counter. Like, he's going to counter you and piece you up. If you play into his game like that, he's going to piece you up. Abdullah likes to fight on the back foot because he's long, rangy. He can just sit at the end of his punches and just jab your face off all night, and you can't do anything about it. If you try and, fight at his range, you're going to have a rough night. How's that going to work for these guys? Because Allen can't just wait for Abdullah to come in, because he can come into a range where he can touch Allen, but Allen can't counter. So Allen's going to have to push forward, put the pressure on him, mix in the wrestling, mix in the grappling, wear on him a little bit. So it's going to be interesting how that all plays a factor. And if he's able to do that, if he's able to put it together and utilize his well-rounded skills, especially when you take his performance against Diego, he went away and worked on the wrestling and the grappling. You could see that was on display in that fight. He looked well-rounded in that fight. He looked like he improved across the board. He was ragged on Diego around in the wrestling and grappling. He was piecing him up on the feet. So, made one mistake, lost the fight. I feel like, I heard him sort of say something on a podcast where he was talking about fighting. When he fought me, it was a case, he felt like it was a case of he was sticking to the game plan too much and wasn't having fun in there, wasn't allowing himself to kind of like mix it up on the fly when the fight started shifting and the game plan wasn't sort of working. Whereas with Diego, he drifted away from the game plan a bit too much and obviously made a silly mistake, went for something that he doesn't ever do, and then got caught. So if he can come into this fight and find that happy medium between those two things, between being flowy and having fun, and then, sticking to the game plan where you need to stick to the game plan, I'm leaning towards Allen to go out there and do the job. He's got the skills and abilities and experience in there to be able to trouble Abdullah quite a bit. Whereas Abdullah's sort of weapons and abilities and skills, like, he's very talented, but if you're not standing in front of him having a kickboxing fight, are you worried about being taken down by him? Probably not. Are you worried about submissions? Probably not. Especially someone like Allen, I feel like even if you did get into those grappling exchanges with him now, he's so adamant on not losing by submission again. I think it's going to be pretty hard for anyone to try and submit that guy again. I don't think you want to go 3 fights in a row losing by submission. I don't think anyone wants to go through that. So, outside of Abdullah scoring a TK or knockout, I just think Allen's got more ways to win. He's more well-rounded. He's more experienced. So I'm leaning towards Allen for this one. But obviously, it's a tough task either way for either guy. I like either guy as a matchup for myself. But I got to make a pick, so I'm going to go with Allen. Allen's going to be able to sort of do the work and grind out a decision and get the job done.
There you go. I think I'm going to disagree on this one. Actually, I feel like Abdullah might get it done. And let me put this to you, like Allen's. From I haven't met Allen, so I don't really know. But from seeing him on the TV screen, he doesn't look like the biggest featherweight to me. And obviously Abdullah's on the larger side for a featherweight. He's certainly on the rangier side. He's obviously there's always the challenges with Abdullah is the length, like you touched on there. We talk about that every time Abdullah fights. How does opponent X close the distance, put their hands on him, that sort of thing. But he's proven to be really difficult to take down. He's got cardio for days. Like he doesn't seem to slow down as the fight goes on. And in his last fight, he fought Jesse Medina. I think that was it. Was that his last fight? That
was before Josh. So he fought.
It was before Josh, wasn't it? Yeah. Anyway, he fought Jesse Medina 2 fights ago. And Jesse's probably a little bit undersized for that division as well, and he took him out on the ground. So I feel like Abdullah's sort of a bit more well-rounded than perhaps people give him credit for, and I think it's going to be a tough challenge. Obviously, like you say, Allen's got the experience. He should be able to make the adjustments, and if he can sort of find that happy medium. But with a guy like Abdullah, there's like you talked about sort of getting too hung up on the game plan, but there has to be a pretty specific game plan, I would have thought, to fight a guy like Abdullah, because he's kind of a bit of an anomaly in that featherweight division. So it'd be interesting to see how Allen handles it. But Abdullah's my pick. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's like you're spot on. He's an anomaly, and he's someone that you have to sort of try and have specific things for that you're going to try and utilize. But one thing that I think is going to be exposed in this fight is, especially if Allen is able to sort of find that sweet spot, and he's able to mix it up and utilize the wrestling and the grappling, is I think Abdullah's cardio is not as good as I don't think his cardio is as good as it's been shown to be. I think he's been fortunate, and it's been a product of the fight and the momentum being his way in these fights, that he hasn't actually been put in a position where he's got to experience that adversity and got to dig deep. And it's you're 1.5, 2 rounds into a fight, and it hasn't been going your way, and now you got to dig deep and find that extra gear. We haven't seen that yet. Does he have that? He very well might, but we haven't seen it yet. So I can't give him that credit for his cardio and his ability to dig through, because I haven't seen it. But if ever there's a fight where he's going to have to sort of potentially dig deep, this is the one, because from what I could see, Allen's coming in and he's in the best shape he's ever been in. He looks good. He looks big. He looks strong. He looks like he's, packed on some size. Obviously, the height is always going to be, you're not going to suddenly get magically taller. So Abdullah's going to be taller and longer for sure. But Allen's looking like he's doing the work, and I'm interested and I'm excited. And I'll be honest, I never thought I'd be sitting here breaking down on Alan Philpott's fights and actually be sitting here leaning towards the guy. But things are just looking like he's found a groove, and he's going to be out there and ready to perform. And one thing I do know from talking to a few other people around him, he's mentally in the right spot, from what I'm told, from what he has been in his sort of leading into his recent fights and recent camps and stuff like that. So all the signs are pointing towards a coming out performance and a sort of redemption performance for Allen. But at the same time, the one thing it comes back to is, how do you deal with Abdullah's length? And if you can deal with it, you're going to find the victory. If you can't deal with it, you're going to have a rough night. He's going to piece you up for 15 minutes or however long it takes to put you away.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I guess with the cardio thing, I was in the building when Abdullah beat, I think it was Jack Lyons at Demolition. That was a 5-round grind there, and like the fight itself was it was a bit of a grind, and he seemed to hold up pretty well. I guess that's where that background comes. We haven't seen him do it sort of repeatedly. It wasn't like they were sort of throwing punches and kicks against each other. The last couple of rounds was spent up against the cage quite a lot. So perhaps it was maybe a little bit deceiving, but we'll see how he goes on a big stage against an experienced opponent as well. That's probably the other variable, isn't it? Like, Allen's going to know how to pace the fight out properly, and be interesting to see how Abdullah goes. But look, it's about time we disagreed, right? I feel like we agree quite a lot on our picks, and this is something that's been raised to me before, like that we agree too much. So this is good. We're in opposite corners for this one. So we'll see how it plays out. I cannot wait to see that egg on your face next week.
When we do the wrap up, when we do the recap. Hey, we'll see how this plans out. But Super Ali's looking good.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a close, but like, I guess it's one of those ones where you kind of lean in one direction. Like, it's not like a clear cut of, hey, this guy's going to win, that guy's going to win. But we are in opposite corners this time. One
thing I will say is, show me something. I want to see some shit. I want, here's your chance. Make a claim. Do something. Go out there and do something. Especially Allen. Like, you talked so much shit leading into our fight, and you set yourself up where you had to win and you had to get a finish, and it didn't go your way. Then you did the same thing with Diego. And yes, like we talked about, he was piecing him up and just ragdolling him around and was killing it. But you got caught and you got put away. And then it's like, fuck, now you've lost 2 fights. And, for the most part, in the lead up to this fight, I haven't seen him. There's been it was like, he called him out. He called out Abdullah on social. Abdullah accepted, but there hasn't been the back and forth. There hasn't been the trash talk. There hasn't been the, all that sort of shit. So that's interesting to me, because, that's he's taken that off the table. He's been quite respectful, quite sort of chill in the lead up to this fight. So, but you know what? You said you told me that you were gonna find your way back, and we were gonna have a rematch at some point, and blah blah blah, all that sort of stuff. All right, come out there and show me. Do something. Set yourself up. Call for a position. Make yourself undeniable, and we'll do it again. But yeah, it's a fucking tough task this weekend.
Yeah, maybe that's just part of him just being more focused, just sort of staying away from the social media and the back and forth and things like that. So it'd be interesting to see how that translates in the cage. Are you going? Are you going over to Perth or anything?
Unfortunately not. I had a few other things that came up that are sort of that stopped me from being able to go, but I'll be watching. I'll be watching still regardless.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I just had this image of you just sort of like sitting at cage side, just doing the gladiator thing, after their performance, just doing the thumb up or thumb down,
Nah.
No, unfortunately not. But anyway, we've got to get off that one because obviously we've got Alden Bates who's returning to the cage, taking on John Varkey, who's I think he just snapped a long layoff for a year as well himself. So obviously Alden hasn't been seen since his loss to Jack Della, probably I don't know 2 or 3 years ago now. So that's going to be an interesting matchup. What do you reckon?
Yeah. No, this is an intriguing matchup. Both guys super dangerous. Both guys, I think, prefer to get their work done on the feet. And Alden's a big welterweight, man. He's a big dude. So it's gonna be interesting to sort of see, how he's able to utilize his reach, utilize his length, utilize his size in the grappling exchanges if there are any. But for the most part, I think both guys like to get their work done on the feet. I'm a big fan of Alden, man. He's a nice dude. I'm a big fan of John as well. They're just likable guys. There's a couple of good guys in the sport in a sense. They're just nice dudes. And in the times I've been around either one of them, it's, sort of interacted with them, nothing but good things to say. They're just super cool dudes. And both guys obviously like to scrap. Both guys obviously have a lot of capacity to sort of cement themselves in this division and make a run towards a welterweight title shot, and then probably bigger and better things. But it's an interesting one to pick, man. Like Alden, big layoff, obviously, but I think from what I could see, he's still been training, still been coaching, so it's not like he's just been sitting on the sidelines doing nothing. So he's still having the time in the sport in some capacity. He's still having your mind frame focused on fights, breaking down fights, all that sort of stuff, because he's coaching people, cornering people, but also still training, coaching in the gym. That all plays a factor. People want to talk about ring rust and all that bullshit, but like I think if you're still doing something in the sport in some capacity, it's going to benefit you when you do get back to competing yourself. Because your mind's already switched on to that side of things already. You're not. It's not like you're coming off being on the couch for 3 years and then all of a sudden you walk into a gym, start your camp, and now you got to try and like get yourself going. That'd be different. So I'm interested. It's gonna be a crazy fight, but I think it's just gonna be a grind, man. I don't see this fight going to a stoppage. I think it's just gonna be a grind for 3 rounds. I think both guys are just gonna, look to implement their games, and it's gonna just be who can dig deeper and outdo the other person.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that one goes, and I guess they're looking to sort of. I assume that Alden and John are looking to sort of establish themselves in the welterweight division, but you never know. Like it's interesting when someone sort of fades away and goes to focus on coaching when they return to competition, whether they're sort of looking to sort of seriously have a run in the sport, or whether it's kind of just an extension of their coaching sort of program. So. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see sort of what sort of not what sort of shape, but sort of what sort of form we see Alden Bates in when he gets back in there. Yeah, no,
that's going to be interesting to see. It's interesting to see how he looks at the weigh-ins. It's going to be interesting to see how that all factors in, because obviously, 3 years away from fighting, that's the same thing. That's 3 years away from doing any sort of dieting, any sort of weight cut, any sort of anything like that, so how's that going to factor in? How are you going to feel? How's he going to go through that process? Is it a case of he's disciplined and he's diligent in those processes, in those areas, or is it a case of he's like, I've done it this many times, like I'll be fine, I'll just it's going to be like clockwork, and then next thing you know, you're having a shitty weight cut and you're not feeling so good. So it's going to be interesting to see how he looks, how he feels. Obviously, you're not going to know how he feels, but like to see how he looks at the weigh-ins, and then sort of go from there. But yeah, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered, and it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out between going through the weigh-ins and then obviously being at the fight and stuff like that. So I'm excited.
Absolutely, and obviously in the main event, Steve Astro Boy Erceg taking on Soichiro Hirai. Obviously, that they're bringing in the Japanese fighter as an opponent. Obviously, Erceg's probably a difficult guy to match up at this point because we know that he had the opportunity with Dana White's Contender Series in his hands, and unfortunately, missed out due to a visa issue. It sounds like it was just something that was completely beyond his control, which is kind of bizarre. But fair play to him. He could have sat on the bench and waited for the next season of Dana White's Contender Series, but he's in. He's jumping back in this time, obviously in a main event now against an international fighter. Now Hirai is obviously someone that we haven't seen on these shores before. I had a quick look at his record just before. He's 4-1, and he's largely untested. You look at his record. He's been fighting in a promotion called Fighting Nexus, who I haven't heard of before. He lost his last fight by round 2 TKO. His first 4 wins were against fighters with sort of losing records. So it's a little bit of an unknown quantity. Like some of these international fighters, he could come over and he could just be a killer, but we just don't know. But the record looks like he's relatively untested. So it looks to me like it's Erceg should outclass him, but again, we just don't know.
Yeah, I had a bit of a look and sort of a delve in, but yeah, I'm pretty confident Erceg's going to go out there and just kill it. Man, he's very, very good. He's very, very talented, very skillful, and he's shown that he's levels above everyone in the region. That's obviously scheduled to be on the Contender Series, as we know, and that fell through. And obviously, has wins over some highly touted sort of prospects. Beat Cody Haddon, beat Shannon Ross. He's beat some top level dudes in his on the way to get himself to the Contender Series. Now he's taken this fight to sort of stay active, get another sort of win, get another bit more cage experience, all that sort of stuff. Set yourself up to go for another run on contenders, like to get on the Contender Series, this season. So yeah, I think he's just going to go out there and perform and completely outclass his Japanese opponent and get a finish inside 2 rounds. I just don't see the level differences is going to be very, very big for me. I think he's just levels above, and it's going to be hard for someone to test him outside of the bigger sort of promotions.
Yeah, exactly. I think Steve Erceg at this point is world class. In my opinion, he's dangerous everywhere. Yeah, I imagine it's going to be a bit of a not really a coming out party, but hopefully a finish for Astro Boy. Now, obviously we've got to get to the very next morning, UFC 284. So as the dust settles on Eternal, there's just another huge card coming up, and obviously it's the UFC's return to Australia. They're over in Perth this time, and it's, as you would expect, the card is littered with Australian talent. So we'll start from the start. Obviously, we've got a Kiwi on the card. Shane Young is returning to the cage. Looks like he's been off for a little while. I think I don't remember the last time Shane Young fought, but he's taking on a guy called Blake Builder at featherweight. So what do you reckon? What can we expect from Shane Young?
Obviously a bit of a layoff. Haven't seen him fight for a while. I think it's been a hot minute. Like you said, I can't actually recall the last time he fought. So it's going to be interesting to see what he's going to sort of do and bring to the table, especially, layoffs in this sport are weird. Because it's like, is it a layoff where you're not fighting, but you're just competing constantly, and you're training and you're competing in some capacity by sparring in the gym, helping your other teammates in camp, where you're still sort of invested in the sport? Or is it a layoff where you're just not doing anything, and then all of a sudden now you come back and you're in camp? So it's going to be interesting to see what where he's at. And obviously his opponent, Blake, is, undefeated. He seems like he's got some skills, got some abilities, got some talent. So it's a weird sort of matchup for me to try and break down, because obviously Shane's coming off a big layoff. Blake's not really, I don't think, fought people of similar caliber that Shane has up until this point. Because Shane's fought some absolute monsters. So, it's a weird one for me to break down, because it's like, is Shane's experience, knowledge in the sport going to play a factor in this fight? He comes out of CKB. He's around absolute monsters, absolute killers. If he's fought the upper echelon guys, like he's fought Volko on that, so he knows what the absolute top level is in his division. Yeah, I'm interested to see how this fight goes out. I like watching Shane Young fight. He's always an interesting person to watch fight. He's always got that different energy about him. But yeah, it's a weird one for me to pick because it's been such a while since we've seen him. But I got to lean towards him. I do like watching him fight. You got to sort of go with the Anzacs in this one, I think, for the most part. So yeah, I want to see Shane Young come out there and put on a violent performance.
Yeah, I think it should be a good matchup. Like you say, Shane's always good to watch. He always puts on a show, and looks like Blake's a finisher as well. So, yeah, should be fireworks. But of course, after that, 2 fights further down the card, I've got a would-be foe of yours, Jack Jenkins. You've obviously been booked to fight him a couple of times, so you know his game pretty well. He's up against Don Shianis, also at featherweight. Is Don from James Krause's gym? Is that right?
He was formerly from Krause's gym, but obviously since that all happened, he moved on and went somewhere else.
Yeah. So yeah, what do you make of the matchup anyway?
Sheamus is a really good grappler. One of my friends, a friend of mine who's based over there, has given me the rundown on him, and he speaks very highly of his grappling ability and gave some insight into Sheamus's first fight in the UFC against Sadiq Youssef. When he got the call, it was very short notice. He was at I think he was walking around at like 185, 184 pounds when they got the call, and then cut down to featherweight, short notice. So obviously, Sadiq was able to get a very quick finish in that fight. I think it was like 14, 15 seconds into the first round, he was able to get a win. But yeah, from what I'm told, he's a really good grappler. I believe he was a two-division champion in the organization that he was fighting for before the UFC. As well. So, he's obviously done some work to get himself to the point where he was at to be signed to the UFC. But I don't know, this matchup, Jack's a very talented fighter in his own right. And, he's got the ability to keep the fight standing if Sheamus is going to try and come in and grapple and wrestle. But ultimately, yeah, I'm just leaning towards Jack to go out there and, he has a chip on his shoulder with the comments that Dana made after the Contender Series win that he got and getting a contract and that. So I think he wants to come out and, fuck this dude up on the feet and put a serious hurt on him to try to, show that he's got a well-rounded skill set. Because obviously, yeah, I think the one-trick pony comment stung him a bit that Dana White said after the Contender Series. So I feel like, yeah, he's going to come in with violent intentions and probably look to replicate the work he did against someone like Costa, someone like Medina, someone like Diego, look to break a leg, look to break a jaw, break a face, and put this dude away. So yeah, I gotta lean towards Jack on this one. I think he's just going to come out there and dismantle this bloke and put him away.
It's interesting that you talk about the chip on his shoulder there from Dana's comments, because like Jack does come across as quite a like a headstrong sort of guy. So he's the sort of guy who probably would bring that to the cage with him, wasn't he? Yeah,
100%. I think I feel like he's probably had that extra bit of motivation to come out there. It's his debut. It's in his home country, and I feel like he wants to come out, put on a show, and potentially get a $50,000 bonus for breaking someone's fucking leg.
Yeah, he could do. Obviously, those leg kicks have done some damage in the past. It'll be interesting to see if he can get some of those off. Because it was interesting, like on the Contender Series, how like someone sort of got in Dana's ear, like he wasn't convinced on Jack. For those who don't know, and then Dana got on the mic and he was like, "Oh, he wasn't that convinced on this guy's performance." But the guys out the back were telling me that this guy's also a gun kickboxer, so we're going to give him a shot. He's probably show those sorts of skills. So it'd be interesting to see how it goes.
Yeah, it's gonna be especially at home in Perth, in Australia, in front of the home crowd and all that sort of stuff. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that all factors in. But yeah, I think Jack's just gonna go out and get the win.
Yeah, we hope so from an Aussie perspective. And obviously another Aussie on the card, Jamie Malaki's taking on an undefeated Argentinian UFC debutant in Francisco Prado. So yeah, how do you see that one playing out?
Jamie's going to knock him the fuck out very quickly. Very quickly. I can't pick. I'm never going to pick against the hooligan. He's my mate. He's my teammate. But also, he's just a fucking likable dude that's violent and gets after it. So, yeah, I reckon Jamie's going to knock this cunt out. Like, he's just going to put hands on him. Old mate's going to be overwhelmed by the occasion of the debut, be overwhelmed by the occasion of being in Australia, be overwhelmed by the occasion of a massive crowd, being all sorts of crazy. And, yeah, Jamie's just going to sleep him. Round one.
There you go. There you go. There, he's called it, and it is a tough thing to come out into enemy territory, and in your first fight against an experienced guy like Jamie Malarkey. Have you seen Jamie down at Freestyle? Has he been on the mats?
Yeah, he did the bulk of his camp down here at Freestyle, alongside Vulcan and the team of absolute guns that were here. The energy in the room was quite massive, and the amount of people, the group of people that were in there preparing for fights and stuff, it's pretty insane. So yeah, Jamie's as ready as he ever is for a fight, and I feel like he's going to have some violent intentions coming forward to put this dude away.
Yeah, I imagine so. And obviously we've got another Aussie straight after that, and Shannon Ross. Now we know Shannon's story, right? He was on the Contender Series. Came down with appendicitis, fought anyway, put on an all-time war, and ultimately lost his fight, but still got a UFC contract. So here he is. He gets to make his long-awaited UFC debut, and it's I think he's how old's Shannon? About 33 now, I think. So it's been a long road for him, and it's sort of the culmination of a lot of years of work on the local scene. So it's a really cool story. He's taking on Clayton Rodriguez, who's also a Dana White's Contender Series alumni. So how do you see him playing out?
Yeah, so Shannon's making his debut. Very experienced in the sport. Been around the block. He did parts of his camp and did like a bit of training down at Freestyle. So we obviously got to see him in action and move around with him, and kind of sort of see him do some work. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see this guy make his debut. I'm excited to see him get in there and showcase his skills and abilities at full health, and not with appendicitis and a burst appendix while he's in there. But I reckon he's just gonna he's gonna be a bit too fast, a bit too technical, and just a bit too too crafty in there for his opponent. I feel like he's gonna be able to utilize his experience, utilize the little tricks that he has up his sleeve to sort of sway the fight and momentum his way, and he's just going to be able to go out there and get the win. I see Shannon getting the win.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see sort of what he looks like on fight night as well, because I believe he's finally gone full time in fighting for this camp. So he's a guy who's had a day job throughout his career. He worked as a mechanic. So he's got 4 kids, which is an absolute mission in itself. But so he obviously has to support his family. It's difficult to do that through fighting. So finally at 33 years old, he's finally dedicated himself to it full time. So it'd be interesting to see how that sort of manifests in the cage as well.
Yeah, obviously, I want to see all the everyone do well and go out there and kill it. And if if everyone could get a bonus, like a post-fight bonus and all that sort of stuff, but fuck, if there's someone who needs to go out there, and it would be sick if he goes out there and starches some cunt and gets paid $50,000, it's Shannon.
Yeah, that'd be a beautiful story, wouldn't it? That'd just sort of cap off his little story. So yeah, hopefully he does. And obviously another guy that you're familiar with is up after that one. Josh Kulabau taking on Melsik Bagdasarian. How do you reckon? Have you seen Josh? Have you trained with Josh at all in this one, or has he been at Igor?
No, he didn't. He did his camp at Igor. There's a bunch of sort of people coming in and helping him and Alan prepare for their fights. But he's looking good, man. He's looking in shape. He's looking lean and dangerous, man. Because we know Josh likes his KFC outside of camp. So fat boy Josh ain't there. He got an in shape, dangerous featherweight that's coming to put on a show. So I'm excited, man. And he's excited and pumped up, and I think he's going to relish in the fact that it's in Australia, in front of an Australian crowd. Draw from that energy and go out there and put on a performance. Melsik's dangerous and he's got some skills, and he's obviously a tough opponent. But yeah, I think Josh is just going to go out there and do work. And I'm hoping he can, get a finish. I'm hoping he can capitalize when he has Melsik hurt and in danger and put him away. Because I think so far, obviously that's been something that's escaped Josh. Obviously, in his fights so far in the UFC, where he's had people hurt, had him in danger, but just missed out on being able to finish them and put them away. And that's a credit to the opponents that he's had. They were able to survive and dig deep. But I feel like this is the fight where we're going to see Josh really announce himself in the featherweight division. Go out there and get a knockout. I'm calling it. Left high kick round 2. Put this dude away. Probably do a shoey. Eat a bucket of chicken. Who knows? It's going to be fucking wild.
Yeah, he probably will. Probably will. I think that's that's a fair prediction there, particularly the last two items. But yeah, hopefully he gets it done in the cage as well. Because yeah, he's a good guy, Josh, and he's on his way up. He's putting together a really impressive record, and he's got to be pushing his way up into the top 15. But obviously we've got Tyson Pedro coming up after. He obviously, snapped I think it was a 3.5 year or 4.5 year layoff last year. He's reeled off a couple of wins, and this time he's got Modestas Bukauskas, who's obviously it's probably a tougher opponent than the last couple he's had. I think he's also a last minute, like a late replacement. I think he was originally fighting a Chinese guy, maybe potentially, but he's got Bukauskas now, and it's probably a guy that's probably plays fairly well into Pedro's strengths. What do you make of the matchup?
Yeah, obviously a tougher opponent than the guy that he was scheduled to fight initially, but yeah, I mean Pedro's looking good, man. Obviously another camp at CKB. He's based himself out of there now, so he's going to have his experienced corner with him. He's going to have that whole vibe and energy of being in out the back with his team and his people around him. I think Tyson's going to come out there, land some heavy low kicks, land some heavy body kicks, put hands on this bloke. But I'm leaning towards a submission. I feel like Modestas is going to get hurt. He's going to get cracked a few times, and he's going to shoot. Pedro's going to reverse position, get on top, and submit him. I'm going to reckon, I say Kimura first round.
Yeah, actually, I can see that. Obviously, we know that that Pedro's got the submissions in his locker. He won his UFC debut by submission all those years ago. So, yeah, he's got that up his sleeve, and I could see that playing out. So, yeah, it's a good prediction. But obviously, then moving on to the main card, we got. Melbourne's Jimmy Crute is taking on Alonzo Menafield at light heavyweight. Obviously, Jimmy's coming back from an injury. I think it's his first fight back, right? He did an ACL.
Yeah.
So
ACL.
And he's obviously coming off the loss to Jamal Hill, and obviously that's a loss that's aged pretty well. Jamal's gone on and done all right since then. So be interesting to see what sort of shape Jimmy Crute's in coming off an injury layoff. What do you make of the matchup?
Yeah, he looked like he was diligent, did the right thing with his recovery and all sort of stuff, and now he's gotten ready for this fight and done the prep. Looks good. He was putting up stuff, doing rounds with Rob Wilkinson, Rob Whittaker, people like that. So I'm excited, man. I love watching Jimmy fight. I'm excited to see him go out there and get back to work and do what he needs to do to sort of get the ball rolling and get himself working towards the title shot. I think he's just better everywhere, and I feel like I'm also leaning towards the fact that he's going to sort of fall back to what got him to the dance a little bit, and I can see Jimmy just taking this guy down, smothering him on top, landing very hard elbows, and then submitting him. I'm going for a Jimmy Crute submission as well.
There you go, another submission, or I could see ground and pound there as well. But there you go, picking Jimmy Crute by submission. And obviously then after that we've got the bad man Justin Tafa's back in the cage. He's been off for a little bit as well, probably a year or a year and a half, I feel like. And he's taking on Parker Porter, who's a guy who's he's probably not the most skilled sort of heavyweight out there, but he's a guy who will sort of stand and bang a little bit with Justin Tafa. So what do you make of this one? It should be fun while it lasts.
Yeah, they're just going to walk forward and throw punches, but I think Tafa's just going to knock him out. That's not a dude you want to stand in the pocket with. I can't see that being a fun idea. But yeah, let's hope he makes weight first. But he's the only heavyweight to miss weight. But all jokes aside, I reckon Tafa's just going to come out and knock Parker Porter into another dimension. Someone in the front row is going to be catching his head, and then that's going to be it. Yeah,
that's it. I think it kind of looks that way. Like Parker Porter's a guy who's not afraid of it, but like you say, Justin Tafa's not someone that you want to exchange too many shots with. So it's going to be a fun one. And obviously his brother was supposed to be on the card as well, but unfortunately he's there's an injury has scuppered that one. So it's a shame we didn't get to see him sort of make his debut on the same card as his brother, but anyway, hopefully we get to see Junior in action sometime soon. But Obviously, also on the main card, Jack Della Maddalena, who's obviously been on an absolute tear since signing with the UFC. He's really made a big impression on the UFC brass. He's got Randy Brown this time at welterweight. So, yeah, how do you see this one playing out?
It's a tough fight, man. It's a tough matchup. Ain't no cakewalk. Randy Brown's dangerous and he's big and he's long. Yeah, this would be a good test for Jack in there, and certainly a fight where, you know, if he goes out there and is able to put Randy away like he has with his other opponents, especially in the first round, if he's able to go out there and piece him up with that crisp boxing and knocks him out, we got to talk about this dude fighting someone in the top 10. Then this, we already know the sky's the limit for Jack. So, and he's getting that recognition from his peers in the sport and in the UFC and stuff like that. And I think most of the media are pretty highly, touting him pretty highly as well. So, yeah, Jack's. This is it. This is the moment. You're fighting in front of your home crowd in the UFC. This is it. A lot of those people in that stadium, like, don't get me wrong, obviously there's all the Aussies, there's a lot of Aussies and Anzacs fighting. Folks obviously going for champ status, but I guess a lot of people in that building are going to be there to see Jack Della go out there and fight. So it's going to be massive for him and a big moment. But Randy Brown's dangerous, man. He ain't this ain't like the other dudes that Jack's fought. Not to knock those guys, but I think it was pretty clear that the Jack was going to come in against those guys and run through them in the way that he did. Does he have the potential to do that against Randy Brown? Of course, 100%. His skills are ridiculous. But, yeah, Randy Brown's a tough test. So I'm excited to see how that plays out and how the length and the height of Randy Brown plays a factor. But, yeah, I just see Jack putting him away.
It is a step up in class for him, isn't it? And like you say, it kind of has that feel about it, like it's like that last hurdle before he really sort of starts to sink his teeth into the top echelon. So yeah, hopefully he can he can pass the test with flying colours. Yeah,
no, he will. He'll go out there and find a way to find that chin, and then we'll be watching Randy Brown just on the canvas, and then Jack will be celebrating with all his friends and his family, and we're talking about him fighting someone in the top 10.
Absolutely, hopefully, yeah, for sure. So, and then obviously, we'll skip straight to the main event. Obviously, we've got you got your teammate Alexander Volkanovski. He's obviously best known as being sort of one of the main sparring partners for the eternal featherweight champion, Lockjaw Justin Van Heerden. I think that's his main claim to fame. But he's taking on a guy called Islam Makhachev, who's the lightweight world champion. So he's obviously stepping up a weight class, going for champ status, and it's a big test. People are saying he's too small, all those sorts of things. But how do you see Volk? How do you see Volk going in this big step up?
Yeah, Captain Volk, the lead man from freestyle, fighting Hezbollah's mate. This is going to be fucking wild, man. Like, I've been breaking down this fight so much in the lead up and talking about it, but I keep saying it, man. People are like, oh, yeah, talk about Islam's grappling, Islam's wrestling. Cool. He can grapple, he can wrestle, and yeah, we know he can do that, and he's very good there. But it is unrealistic for anyone to try and sell me that the skill separation on the feet isn't as, isn't a massive gap between the two guys. Like, I saw these things now at Islam talking about he wants to knock Volk out. He wants to show you can strike because everyone just knows him as a wrestler. Bro, go try that shit with Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler, someone else. Don't stand in front of Volk and think you're going to strike with him, because actually, better yet, do it so I can watch you get knocked the fuck out in the first round and watch Volk stand over your corpse as he's holding up 2 belts, because that's what's going to happen. Islam's going to be dangerous in round one. Round one, everyone's strong, everyone's fresh, you're dry. So if Islam can get him down in the first round, get control, that's his best opportunity. That's as good as it gets. Round 2 onwards, it's going to be more and more difficult for him to even get the fight to the ground. And now we got to talk about, we've never seen Islam outside of his fight where he got knocked out. We've never seen Islam faced with any adversity or to struggle outside of maybe the Sarukian fight, where Sarukian was able to sort of get back to his feet, but Islam took him straight back down. But I'm talking about, we haven't seen Islam shoot a takedown and it get fully, completely stuffed, or he has to face consequences from a takedown sequence not going his way. In the Sarukian fight, Sarukian got to his feet and immediately shot in and engaged in the wrestling again. Islam was able to put him back down. Whereas with Volk, if he stuffs your takedown, now you stand in front of him, he's going to piece you up. If he gets back to his feet, he's going to be piecing you up. So like the consequences of not getting a takedown in his current position are so costly for Islam, and the mental wear that's going to put on him is just going to shut him down completely. And I'm leaning towards. Not just leaning towards, I'm confident in the fact that Volk's going to be able to put him away in the 4th round. Everyone's talking about, I see people that are saying Volk can win and saying like, oh yeah, he'd be able to grind out a decision. Nah, he's going to put this dude away. I'm confident he's going to put this dude away. He's going to systematically break him down and get him to a point where he's so frustrated and flustered. He's going to try and make a mid-fight adjustment because his main game plan isn't working, and Volk's going to knock him out and sleep him.
Yeah, I mean, like people talk about the size and things like that, and we know that Volk is, he's said to be sort of freakishly strong. Obviously, that's something that you feel on a daily basis. So, yeah, how do you think that sort of that strength, that physical strength and the punching power will sort of translate to lightweight when obviously he's taking on a guy who's a little bit bigger and like a little bit physically larger in Islam?
Man, it's going to be even worse. It's going to be even scarier. Like feeling him when he's fighting at featherweight, knowing that he used to fight at middleweight, fought at welterweight. Like, the dude's so strong. He's so physically strong. He's so like his fight IQ is ridiculous. He's obviously shown that his speed got even more ridiculous, like between the Ortega and Zombie fight, and then again with the Zombie and Max fight. So across the board, he's still making improvements constantly. But yeah, he's just a freak, man. Like he's so strong. He's so experienced. He's obviously got power. He's got the fight IQ. He's got all these things that he puts together so perfectly. But yeah, the size factor, all that bullshit. Like it's not gonna matter. It's not gonna matter. Like I see him constantly going with people who are like, bigger than him, longer than him, and he's just ragdolling people around. It's not ever where you're really sitting there going, oh, look at this. He's like, the worst part is the longer something goes, like you'd expect this guy when he's like 4 or 5 rounds in to be slowing down, but he's actually better. So like if he's probably stronger in the 4th and 5th than he is in the 1st and 2nd, which is like, doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense to you that someone could be that far into a fight or something and then be even better and be even stronger, and that's proven in his fights as well. If you look at his fights, his percentages for his striking and his takedowns and everything all increases as the fight goes on. Most people,
is that just a fight IQ thing? Is that just him like just being able to pace out the fight and just keep something in reserve and then emptying the tank in the later rounds? Like what would you put that down to?
Yeah, it's fight IQ. It's being in tune with your body and your own sort of your gas tank, everything, knowing where you're at, knowing when to go, when not to go, expending energy when you need to, reserving some when you need to. It's just a combination of things. He's so in tune. DC said this. He's so in tune with fighting over 25 minutes. He's not rushing. If he puts you away inside the distance, that's cool. But he's more than ready to fight you for 25 minutes and can do everything that he's able to do for that 25 minutes easily. He doesn't get tired. So, it's a combination of things. But, don't get me wrong. Obviously, the Islam's a dangerous fighter. Islam's got incredible skills. He's one of the best fighters on planet Earth as well in his own right. He's the lightweight champion. 23-1. So this is insane. It's insane that we have the number 1, number 2 pound for pound guys in the world fighting each other, 2 champs fighting each other. But as talented as Islam is, as formidable as he is, as great as he is, Volk's just another level. It's just another level. It's just how it is.
There's levels. And how do you think he deals with the grappling? Someone put it to me the other day that they said, if Islam just sort of chains together takedowns and all that sort of thing, everyone talks about how Volk can scramble and those sorts of things. But what if he's scrambling all night for 5 rounds while, he's while Islam's trying to take him down? Does he sort of lose too many rounds that way, or can he shrug off these takedowns and sort of keep his distance and then sort of use that sort of range control to strike and those sorts of things, or is he likely to get stuck in the takedown sequence for a little while?
Even if it is a scramble for like the whole time, like yes, just scramble, those little moments at the start of each round or when they are separated, he's going to be landing and Islam's not going to be landing. So even if you scramble in like that the whole time, unless we're talking about Islam getting a hold of him, putting him down and actually establishing control, that doesn't count towards anything. And if we're going off the scoring system, it doesn't mean shit. If you don't take someone down and control them and actually utilize it, it don't mean shit. You could shoot 50 takedowns and chain them together. If you don't get control, it doesn't count. Like, what'd you do? You did fuck all. So, it's, worst case scenario, he gets a split decision, and we have people being like, oh, it was a close fight, blah, blah, like, but, that's worst case. But I see him putting this dude away.
Yeah, it's fucking can't catch this guy off guard here. You've got an answer for everything when it comes to Volk. So that's it. I'm putting the house on Volk. That's it. I'm selling this computer. I'm selling the
house, the car, everything.
Yeah, the house. One or both of my children. It's fucking
Buy another house and put that on too. Just put everything on.
Yeah, round 4 TKO. That's it. I'm sold. I'm sold. He's got me.
He's a 4-1. He's a 4-1 underdog in this fight. What?
Nothing that I was going to
guy, the number one pound for pound guy in the world, a 4-1 underdog. A 4-1 underdog against a guy who fought Charles Oliveira. How does that make sense?
Yeah. It's absurd, isn't it? Like, it's interesting. Like, you could see why sort of Islam would be the favourite, right? Because people see the face-off photo and they're like, "Oh, look how big Islam is, and look how short Volk is." That sort of sways people, that aren't sort of, I guess, on the inside or whatever. But it's kind of absurd that, like you say, the number one pound-for-pound fighter in the world, this is the very best fighter on planet Earth, would be a 4-1 underdog. Like, you could see it if he was like, I don't know, $1.80 or something like that, maybe. But yeah, I think last I checked, he was over $4 to win, which that's incredible to me. Like, and he's on home soil. Like, there's so many reasons that this fight is competitive, and it's just the odds look like it's just going to be a walkover. Yeah,
no, it makes no sense to me. But that's the best part. We're going to see it all play out, and it happens this weekend. A couple more days.
Yeah, exactly. So those who know, might be able to make some money if Volk can get the job done. We don't have a betting partner, we don't have a sponsor or anything like that, so I'm not going to tell you who to bet on. But if there are any out there, then holler at your boy, as they say. So, Other than that, we're going to be breaking all this. All this has come to pass. Episode 37 is going to be dedicated to breaking down. Eternal 73 and UFC 284. So until then, let us know if you have any fan questions. I think next week's episode might be a bit full, but we will be sort of hitting those up again this year. So you can hit us. Our details are below at Dan Meehan MMA on Twitter or at Lockjaw MMA on Instagram, or you can hit, of course, our Instagram page at Fight Talk Down Under. And don't forget to like and subscribe: YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Fight News Australia, and iHeartRadio. Lockjaw, take us away.
Yep, tune in this weekend. Watch Eternal, watch UFC. Support everyone. Get in there, get stuck in. If you're attending the events, fucking even better. Go to both, enjoy it, soak it all in. It's a big weekend for Aussie MMA and Aussie MMA fans. And I'm just looking forward to getting back on track, getting back in there and smashing someone's face in May. I gotta watch it. You never know what might stop you.
Here I